Okay, what you're looking at here is something that we were actually working on in class. It's from example 4 in your textbook. What they're asking you to do is write equations, or write an equation, for a bisector working in the coordinate plane. In other words, I have a segment graphed in the coordinate plane, wherever it might be. Let's call my segment QR, and I am supposed to be figuring out where the perpendicular bisector of QR would be and writing an equation of that perpendicular bisector. And mine doesn't quite look centered, but it's what you mark it, not what it looks like. All right, so there's basically 3 steps. You can think of it as 3 or 4 steps. But here's the scenario. To find an equation of a perpendicular bisector of a segment, you need to start out by finding the midpoint of the segment. Okay, so here's the midpoint. We know that that perpendicular bisector is going to go right through the midpoint. So that's why I need to find it. Midpoint formula. Sorry, I started to write M there. It's more like midpoint because usually we use M down here below. Next thing is I need to find the slope of the original segment. Here's the slope formula right here. Okay, so we have midpoint, and then we're looking for the slope of this segment. The reason we need the slope of this segment, let's call it segment AB, is because I need the slope of the dotted line. And we know that the slopes of perpendicular lines are negative reciprocals or opposite reciprocals. So if I can find the slope of AB, which I'm doing here, the next thing I'm doing is getting the negative reciprocal, or really it's opposite reciprocal because it might turn out positive. You change the sign, whatever it was, and flip it over, which is what reciprocal means. So the opposite reciprocal of this slope will give me the slope of this line. So now I have 2 things about the dotted line. I have a point that it goes through, and I have its slope. If you have a point and the slope of a line, if you have a point that's on the line and you have the slope of the line, that's enough to go ahead and write the equation. We use what we call point-slope form. Here it is, point-slope form, or at least that's the easiest way to do it. And we plug in the point that we know that's on the line in the x and y that have the subscript. So x sub 1 and x sub 1 and y sub 1 become the x and y that we know is on this line. Where do we find a point on this line? It was the midpoint. So when we got this, we found a point, and now we're going to plug that point in here. And then in steps 2 and 3 here, we found the slope of my dotted line, and that goes right in for the M. And then you're done. You might be asked to write the equation in a different format, like maybe change it into slope-intercept form, but that's easy enough. The main thing is getting the equation to begin with. And if it's not specified, you can just leave it in this equation, in this format. So let me give you another example or another video with an example of that.